Again, depending upon your era of television, you will have a different answer for your perfect father. Maybe it's Philip Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Maybe it's Dan O'Connor from Roseanne. Maybe it's Danny Tanner from Full House, Tim Taylor from Home Improvement, or Johnny Rose from Schitt's Creek. But whoever your profile of the perfect dad is, what I noticed about all of these characters is they all share four things in common. The first is that the problems that they handled were always basically easy. There were easy answers. Should Beaver go out and play, or should he stay in? They were always black and white solutions. Do this or do this. There were never any gray areas. Number three, all the resolutions that took place happened in 30 minutes or less, because, of course, the shows themselves were 30 minutes or less. And most important for us today, all the answers came from the dads themselves. Now, if you were a dad like me, you know that none of these four things is actually true. You know that most of the problems that you have to have answers for are not easy. You know that most of the problems that you have to deal with have gray solutions. You know that most of the problems require time, not just 30 minutes. And most important for today, you know that most of the problems you face, you don't have the answers for. And that is why none of these prototype, these perfect dads, are a very good profile for us. And it is also why I'm so glad we're taking a look at King Solomon today. Now, King Solomon, as you know, lived 1,000 years before Jesus. He is the son of King David. He's the product of a completely messed up marriage between David and Bathsheba. But what I want to lift up today is that Solomon was also a father. Now, different from you and me, at least I think different, Solomon had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. Again, I don't think that applies to too many of us. But the Bible, or the Tanakh, tells us that there are three specific kids in Solomon's life. First, there is his son, Rehoboam. And then he has two daughters, Tapheth and Basemeth. Now, the story of Solomon is really a story of a failed parenthood. It's the story of a failed father. It's the story of the disillusion of a kingdom. It is the story of wisdom gone wrong. It's the story of a king who relied too much on his own wisdom. And yes, remember that King Solomon, the Bible tells us, was the wisest person there ever lived. But that is also why Solomon is so helpful for us. If your family is somehow separated, or it's all over the map, or if there's disintegration, or if it's divided, or if there's war between one kid or another, or there is a lack of harmony, then Solomon's is the model that you want to look at. Now, what's interesting about Solomon is even though he was super wise, what he began to do is trust God less and less towards the end of his life. So, for example, the Jewish encyclopedia says that Solomon was a person who relied so much on his wisdom that the entire country fell apart. And if you remember your biblical history, you remember the northern kingdom is the kingdom of Israel, and the southern kingdom is the kingdom of Judah, and that all happened because Solomon did not trust God enough. So I want us to take a look at our text today, which again is written by Solomon, probably early in his monarchy. And we see that later in Solomon's life, he does not heed his own advice. So let's take a look. Proverbs 3, 5 through 8. You can take a look at the screen in front of you, or you can take a look at your own Bibles. I've got mine in front of me. It says this: trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Let me read that again. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Now here Solomon is paraphrasing the most important text in the Jewish tradition, Deuteronomy 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. So Solomon is taking the word love out and putting the word trust. What he's saying is trust the Lord with all your heart. Now, I don't want to throw too much Hebrew at you today, but the Hebrew word for trust is batak. Would you say that with me? Batak. And batak means to trust, but it also means to be confident in, to be secure in, to be bold in. That last one is actually my favorite. Don't you love the idea of being bold in the Lord with all your heart? And the second part says, and do not rely on your own understanding. Again, what I think might be more helpful for us today is do not rely on your own game plan, your own easy answers, your own black and white solutions, your own pat platitudes. Don't rely on those things. In other words, what Solomon is saying here is don't be Ward Cleaver. Don't be Michael Landon. Don't be Philip Banks. Don't be Dan O'Connor. Don't be Danny Tanner. Don't be Tim Taylor. And don't be Johnny Rose. Don't feel the need to be the dad that has the answers, that comes up with things with black and white solutions, that has resolutions in 30 minutes or less. In fact, what we're going to see today is you can do more damage in being like one of those guys than you can in applying this text to your life to trust in the Lord. Now, just in case we didn't get this, Solomon wants to repeat this and underline this in Proverbs 3, 7, and 8. He says, do not be wise in your own eyes, but acknowledge the Lord in all things. And this will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. In other words, dads, if you are putting all of this pressure on your shoulders to come up with all of the right and wise answers, you are not only not helping your kids, you are also doing detriment to your own lives.